Good morning, everyone. Hope the first hour in the books has been good for you. So we'll kick off these quickfire sessions with a little education session on green building. One of the things that we're looking forward to, well, before we jump into it, the requisite slide for those of you who are here seeking continuing education credits. Even though this is a quickfire 30-minute, it still qualifies for your continuing eds. So be sure to get the necessary paperwork. Okay, so you're here because you probably want to learn a little bit more about green building. As many of you have probably seen for more than a decade now, sustainability has been a big topic and has not really slowed down. You may not see it in marketing and advertising like you did 5-6 years ago, but it's certainly there in terms of what's required of buildings now. It's really more of a minimum requirement approach now. So what I'm endeavoring to do today is really touch on the high points. I think this is going to be really valuable to you because you'll get to see the tile industry's sustainability message all in one package because it's quite a broad concept. There's a lot of different things going on, a lot of different requirements. So I'm going to try to simplify it for you so that when you're seeking to fit tile into a green building project, or if you get questions about tile and green building, hopefully you guys will you'll be able to catch on really quick with a very neat, clean presentation from the industry. So if you've been visiting some of the tile industry websites, if you have made your way around the show, and even if you've been at previous shows, for over a year now, we've had a campaign for the ceramic tile industry called Why Tile, and it's really our opportunity to as a unified industry, everybody getting together, tout all of the benefits of tile. Everything from design to the healthiness associated with tile, value benefits, just all of the different durability benefits, different ways tile can be used and benefit you as a consumer, as a designer, in your just daily work specifying tile. One big component of this Why Tile, or a big pillar, I should say, of our Why Tile messaging is the sustainability message, because we truly, as an industry, do believe that ceramics are among the best in terms of environmental responsibility. So jumping into that, I encourage you to check out some of the industry resources which really do what I'm doing here today, package that information together. We have a document out in the 2019 TCNA handbook. Have you guys heard of the handbook, TCNA? So it's our industry book of all the ways tile are installed, all the architectural specifications and drawings and diagrams. So I would encourage you to do that, to take a look at that if you haven't seen it. But there's also a wealth of information buried inside the middle, one of them being our tile, the Natural Choice brochure, which outlines, like I said, everything I'm sharing with you today. So you can swing by our booth in the North American Pavilion, the TCNA booth, and get that resource for sure. But as far as how tile fits into the green building world, it's really quite simple. There's two ways products are being specified for sustainability today, and that's performance and transparency. And quite simply, that means specifiers are looking to use products that meet minimum performance standards, that they actually are environmentally responsible, meet certain thresholds for different attributes like recycling, regional usage, and just different thresholds that are often standardized, and sometimes you see certification programs to those standards. The other big half of the other side of the coin is transparency, and you're probably seeing if you're out there, kind of navigating through all the different demands that you see pop up in the market, you're probably seeing a lot of requests for transparency, reporting of not necessarily requirements to meet a threshold, but just requirements to report in a responsible manner, the life cycle impacts, the material ingredients, all kinds of different stuff like that. So I'm going to focus on those two because those are the foundation of the industry's approach to fulfill some of these demands. Starting with performance, there's inherent performance, just what makes a product what it is. And in the ceramic tile industry, the message for years has been, the resources made from naturally occurring resources, made from earth, fired in an oven, and then you get the final product. That's the industry's message. No synthetics, no plastics. It's a pure product in its simplest form. But also, because it's fired at high temperatures, it makes the final product inert, meaning it doesn't off-gas VOCs. The final product is a VOC-free product because it's inherently inorganic. But then also you see a lot more responsibility just in manufacturers meeting thresholds to recycle, to meet reuse requirements, not just recycle raw materials, but also responsible water usage and so forth. Then, of course, when we talk sustainability, we also talk energy efficiency. So we see a lot of solutions out there, whether that's radiant heating, whether that's the building envelope using ceramics to increase that thermal mass. If you go to a lot of buildings in Europe, especially, have been standing for hundreds and hundreds of years, you notice the air conditioning is never on. It's just inherently cool, and it's an energy efficient way to maintain the climate within a building. And of course, human health and well-being, another big part of it. But let us not forget the history and longevity story of the industry, because the common denominator to sustainability really is how long a product's going to last. And of course, the tile industry prides itself in life cycle lifespans that can last as long, and in some cases longer, than the building in which it's installed. So that's kind of the inherent performance angle, but that's all good and well, but how do we put that into a standard? Because at the end of the day, products have to be specified in some way, and just telling the story makes it difficult to meet certain thresholds when speccing products for certain projects. So the industry's response in North America was an ANSI standard, A138.1, which is known in the market as green squared. That is the North American, it's the only North American standard and certification program for sustainable tiles and installation materials. That's the industry's response to performance. If you want to specify certified, meet the standard performance meeting products, that would be the green squared standard in North America. It's, like I said, it's not just tile, it's everything used to install tiles. So the standard encompasses tiles, what we call powder installation products, basically mortar and grout, paste liquid, so your mastics and different trowelable adhesives, as well as membranes and backer boards. It's kind of nice because you have the host of products used in a tile installation all standardized under a single umbrella of sustainability principles. Because one of the confusing things about performance is some industries require this, some standards require that, and so what are you really looking for in a project? It's nice to have an entire industry under the same standard. And the green squared standard is a multi-attribute standard, and it standardizes different aspects of sustainability throughout the life cycle of a product. You can learn more about Green Squared by going to our website, greensquaredcertified.com. Not only does it give you information about what the program is, but it provides guidance for manufacturers. If you're a manufacturer and you want to get a product certified, that's where you would go to find out more. It also provides very valuable information to specifiers. There's a whole section on how to specify the program, whether it's a green building project such as LEED or a building code compliance issue. Specifiers can really learn how the products can be used by visiting this site. And lastly, for purchasers, because another big trend, as I'll get to in a moment, is not only do products meet standards and certifications and get provided out there in the market, but the real big evolution over the last few years are going directly to the purchasers. How are purchasers finding sustainable products? So I'll explain how the website can help. On our website, there is a library of all products which are currently Green Squared certified, and it's up to date and continues to be maintained. But it's nice because you can get all of the information on certified products in one location, but that database also syndicates out to all of these purchasing databases. That's a big trend in specifying and finding products nowadays. Just because a building code or a LEED rating system or a purchasing requirement may specify the products that need to be used, the reality is folks finding these products like to go to a website. So the trend is a lot of purchasers and procurement organizations are outsourcing database entities to create their own in-house kind of lists of products they're okay with. And so the nice thing about the way the Green Squared certification program is structured is it creates a database that automatically syndicates out to all the other databases that are out there. Some of them are proprietary. So to give you an example, the same agency that maintains our library maintains the GSA, has the federal contract. So all of the products which are government, all the products which are government approved are in the GSA's website, which are linked to our database. Same thing for the state of California, most of their government agencies. And you're seeing it more and more in universities that purchase a lot of building materials. You're seeing it with big-time gas and electric companies. So procurement is a really big subject when it comes to sustainability now. So we as an industry made an effort to make sure that not only do we have the standards and certification programs, but that we can have an inventory of products that meet those, and that inventory is automatically syndicated with these proprietary purchasing platforms. You're going to see, gone are the days of, finding the standards and certifications and searching your own on products. Most purchasers like to go straight to the website of their company and just, almost like the Amazon approach to selecting products. So we've got to evolve with the times. And I should also mention, internationally, there's a very similar standard to Green Squared being developed, an ISO standard. And so what we've done in North America with the certification program is actually being discussed internationally to hopefully collaborate and create one single mark worldwide. How many of you have been overwhelmed with all the different certifications, labels, and not knowing who to believe, who to trust? The great thing about the tile industry is we all agree that we want to eliminate that confusion and just have one mark. If it meets this and has this mark, that would be the tile industry's way to say these are what we deem sustainable. So we're getting there, and I think we've done a pretty good job so far. So that's performance. So our solution to performance was Green Squared. Our solution to transparency is lifecycle reporting and EPDs, which I'll get to in a moment. But as I mentioned, increasingly transparency is becoming important. Not only is it becoming more integrated into the way buildings are designed, whole life cycle environmental assessments on buildings are a reality now, but in order to make those accurate assessments, you need to have the data on the products that's up to date and accurate so that you can punch those numbers into the overall building and find out how a building ultimately performs. So that's one reason transparency is important. Another reason is there's just a general increase in consumer interest in transparency and honesty. And so an EPD is a way to disclose what the environmental impacts are of products. And it's a way to disclose it in a standardized reporting framework. The analogy that always gets used is nutrition facts on food. There's no requirement on performance for those nutrition facts. There's only requirement in how that nutrition is communicated so that you as a consumer can pick a product, and every time you see that nutrition label, it's familiar to you. You know which line item to look at, whether you're interested in the calories or whether you're interested in the saturated fat. There's all kinds of different numbers that you can expect. But what is standardized aren't the thresholds. What's standardized is the framework. That's the same thing for environmental reporting, and that's how the industry reports what are called environmental product declarations. There are, on the previous slide, it also mentioned there are two different types of EPDs. There's a product-specific declaration, which is basically exactly what it sounds. One brand-specific may have an EPD report for that, but there's also what's called an industry-wide EPD, which is basically that report, but for the whole industry, the average. So, for example, if you just wanted to, if you just got the inquiry, hey, what's the ceramic tile industry in North America? What's your global warming potential? What's your carbon footprint? You would go to the line item called global warming potential on the EPD, and you can tell the very simple answer. Oh, it's 16 kilograms per meter squared. That's the carbon footprint. So it's kind of nice to be able to answer that question very simply just by looking at a line item on an EPD. In the North American industry, we have 3 industry-wide EPDs. We have one for ceramic tile, we have one for mortar, and we have one for grout, which is kind of nice. Those are the main components of a tile installation. So if you, as a specifier or as a purchaser or as a supplier, want to communicate the transparency, not just of tile, but of the whole installation, you can take 3 of these, piece them together and say, hey, we can sum this up and we can find out the carbon footprint per square foot of that installation. Not only does it give you the tools to make assessments on the environmental impact of products, it also allows you to get recognition if you're pursuing a project like a LEED project and you're trying to get points. This is kind of nice because most often those green buildings specs, those green building rating systems will say, in order to get 1 point, you need to use 10 products in your building that have an EPD. Well, just by specifying tile, you can knock out 3 of those 10 product requirements just because we inherently have EPDs for the tile, the mortar, and the grout. So it's a nice package as an industry to be able to provide, and it's a way to enable folks to pursue these different requirements with green building as well. Just to give you an idea of what our EPD says, I did mention to you the carbon footprint is 16 kilograms per meter, or I'm sorry, 15.1 kilograms per meter squared for ceramic tile. What's neat is you can compare that as a whole to other industries. And when we extrapolate this out to a full 60-year life cycle of tile, which is required by the laws or by the different rules, you'll be able to see that tile has the lowest carbon footprint, which is kind of nice. And the EPD we have is for North American tile, but there's also one for Italian tiles as well. So there you have it. That's our package: certified performance through Green Squared and certified transparency through EPDs. And we have 3 EPDs in North America. And I mentioned LEED a lot, but just to give you an idea, LEED version 4.0 does give points for using Green Squared certified products. LEED version 4.1 has not quite developed that product pilot credit library yet. Are most of you familiar with LEED? So for the most part, be on the lookout for LEED projects, because Green Squared certified products can help get that point, as can EPDs. LEED gives a lot of recognition to products that have these transparency reports, these EPDs. In fact, in the newest version, 4.1, they give equal weighting to industry-wide EPDs, the industry averages, as equal weighting to product-specific EPDs. That's actually a big announcement that just came out earlier this year. What this does is it incentivizes manufacturers to get both. They participate in their industry average, but also to have their own product-specific EPD so that you can continually assess where you stand compared to the average. That's the goal of LEED and many others. So just to run through them quickly, it's not just LEED, it's Green Globes is another program you see more common in Canada and in the Pacific Northwest. Same thing, gives points for Green Squared certified and points for using products with EPDs. Not just rating systems, but also on the mandatory front, building codes have started to specify these kinds of things. So I open today's talk by saying, green building, just because you don't see it advertised and marketed, it's not the buzz that it was 5 to 6 years ago. It's definitely still a reality because it's out there now as law if a municipality adopts these codes. The most common framework for building code sustainability is the International Green Construction Code, which is partnered with ASHRAE, the organization, which had the standard 189.1. So in that building code, which gets adopted by municipalities, they are also requiring products that have EPDs and products that have certified sustainability. So when you're pursuing those compliance issues, the tile industry solution are Green Squared and EPDs. And then on the residential side, there's a standard from the National Association of Home Builders called ICC 700, and it's the same theme. So you can see the slide I showed where it's, the way to specify products in the green building, you have a performance tool and you have a transparency tool, and the Green Squared and EPDs come up in all of these. And not just green building specification, but also procurement. I touched on procurement for a moment, but this is especially more relevant now because a couple of years ago, the EPA released federal guidelines for purchasing, and they basically say that if you're considering tile and you're a government purchaser interested in sustainability, per the EPA's directive, you need to consider Green Squared certification. So it's really making its way out there, and the industry is getting some traction. The key was to be on the table for consideration, because without a standard, there would be no way for EPA to recommend tile as a sustainable product. So that was a big story. So there you have it. I endeavored to simplify the message: performance, transparency, which means Green Squared and EPDs, and that's what we've done. The tile industry, especially the North American industry, has handed this sustainability strategy really on a silver platter for you so that you can take these tools and use them to get products into certain jobs, and also so that if you're on the other side selecting products, you know what to look for from the industry. So finally, what's coming next? I want to leave you with a closing glimpse into what we're doing. We talked about environmental transparency, but we didn't talk about health transparency. That's probably 60% of the green building conversation today. People don't want to just know the environmental report on a product. They want to know what the product's made out of, what the ingredients are. How many of you gotten requests or have requested green material ingredient reports or HPDs? So this is what we're working towards as an industry. Right now, manufacturers are providing this information, but there's not a lot of uniformity in how the information is being provided and what information is even being requested. So we're getting together and coming within the next year, we anticipate releasing a Tile Industry Material Ingredient Guide, which will basically provide education. It'll provide a little bit of strategy. Here's how you can use products to fulfill your requirements. Here's how you can advertise your products as meeting the transparency. But also, not only is, because there really is a host of different material ingredient programs out there, and it's probably more confusing than green building ever was, because you have declare labels, HPDs, cradle to cradle certification, you have the California Red List, there's all these different programs, and it can frankly get overwhelming. So figuring out as an industry, what that message is in an organized conversation is what we're striving to do over the next year. And we're also, in doing so, going to hopefully find a way to inventory all of the different ingredients on average being used in the industry, so that users and suppliers of tile can piece together these reports more or less on demand to fit any job. So that's our big challenge for the year ahead, to continue to evolve in the transparency front. So stay tuned. So I'll leave that, and it looks like there's 5 more minutes for questions, or, okay. Any questions? All right, well, good. That'll conclude the presentation. Thanks.